Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you about something that isn't my usual batshit crazy kind of themed thing. It's something that's quite important to me because I think, as you know, I work in the area of mental health. And not only do I work in the area of mental health, but our patients are what you would probably classify as the more severe cases of mental illness that you do see in society. And I want to make people aware that it's not only something that's very important to be aware of, but it's something very personal to me. A few years ago, I lost touch with my best friend at school. I would call her my best friend. I had a couple of best friends. She was probably my bestest friend. The reason we lost touch was not because of any particular reason. Her family moved, my family moved. She went to New Zealand for a little while, etc., etc. And back in those days, we didn't have email, we didn't have mobile phones. It used to cost a lot of money to ring STD to New Zealand, so our contact became, quite limited. And if we didn't snail mail each other, which, back then, who has time for that? You can easily lose touch, which is what happened, unfortunately. Several years ago, I thought, well, I'm going to try and find her. And she was probably before that trying to find me as well, apparently. I don't know. But as it turned out, I found a mutual friend of ours on Facebook, which was nice. But then I found out that Anne had passed away. And not only had Anne passed away, but Anne had committed suicide. Now, this was just an absolute huge shock to me, because knowing Anne, she just was a happy person and a lovely person. She had 3 beautiful daughters. She hung herself, and her little daughter, who was about the age of 10, found her hanging, tried to get her mummy down, and called 000, which was all very, very brave things for a little girl like that to do. But what I'm basically trying to say to people is that there was a lot of backlash for people saying things like, how could anybody be so selfish as to do that to someone else, to do that to their family, to do that to people that they love? But what I want people to understand is, when you have mental illness, you don't think rationally like that. You don't think, how can I do this to someone? It's more, how can I stay here and cause so much misery to these people? The best thing I can do for these people is to be away from here, is to not be here. And sometimes emotionally, financially, and practically, the only way for you to solve that situation is for you to kill yourself. And I know that sounds really drastic, but that is how people who are at that desperate stage in their mind, that is how they think. It's not selfish, it's desperation. And their thought patterns are not normal. They are not thinking, my poor little girl, how will she find me like this? They are thinking, my little girl will be so grateful to come in and find that this horrible person that is me is finally dead. That is how mental people who are depressed to the stage where they are suicidal are thinking. So we need to get it out there and change people's aspects and thinking patterns, that people who commit suicide are selfish. They are not selfish, they are desperate, and they are sick, and they are ill, and they haven't received the treatment that they need. So I think, rather than people bullying and being nasty and saying people are selfish and gutless, I've heard this, took the easy way out. It isn't the easy way out. Could you think of how desperate my friend must have felt, knowing that she had 3 daughters and a family that loved her, and she had no choice but to do that, to actually hang herself? Could you imagine how her mind would have felt? I don't think you can imagine unless you've been there. So I'm asking people to please be a little bit more sympathetic towards people who have committed suicide and the people who are left behind, because it isn't a selfish act. It is an act of desperation. And that's a bit for now. Anyway, I'll try and get back to my usual happy-go-lucky videos for next time. Thanks for listening.